On this episode of the 2x eCommerce podcast show, I'm going to be talking about audiences in relation to Facebook advertising. Do stay tuned. Welcome to 2x eCommerce, the e-commerce marketing growth podcast where you ask questions and I, Kunle, answers them. Also hear from proven marketing growth experts who are number one or number two in specialist areas of online retail marketing. So if you work in or own an online retail business, listen in, get involved, join me, and let's put some fuel to skyrocket your e-commerce growth.
So an inbound marketing strategy is how do you beat Amazon?
Natural search and our search engine position is critical to the customer flow through the website.
I personally would not have an account process interrupt checkout flow at all.
My favorite customer lifetime value calculation is an easy one. It's your average order value times that purchase frequency times your customer lifespan.
I'm Kunle Campbell. Let's get rolling. This episode is brought to you by Klaviyo. It is a game-changing email automation tool specifically built for scaling e-commerce businesses. I'm not just saying it. I use Klaviyo in my e-commerce store and in stores I advise for. Household names in the e-commerce space such as Brooklinen, Bonobos, and Chobbies use Klaviyo. Here's why. Klaviyo has one of the most impressive feature sets in the e-commerce email personalization space at the moment. Besides the one-click setup, Klaviyo's Pixel tracks visitor behavior to help you set up highly effective custom email funnels. Klaviyo also offers pre-built autoresponders for cart abandonment, upsells, and win-back campaigns. Klaviyo's most game-changing feature is its Facebook Audiences integration, which helps your email list to sync up with your Facebook ad campaigns. So as you continue to scale up your store, Klaviyo will help automate a lot more sales. Try Klaviyo today on klaviyo.com, spelt Klaviyo.com. With retail moving online, finding a good domain name has become ever so important. But the challenge is that most decent .com addresses are either difficult to acquire or unavailable. The good news is that retailers now have a powerful alternative with the .store domain name. The .store domain name will be short, relevant, and directly associate your site with e-commerce and retail. Search engines give .store domains the equal attention and importance as .com TLDs. .store domains have already been adapted by top brands such as Emirates. So if you check out Emirates.store, you get to a store there. Jimi Hendrix, so JimiHendrix.store, and F1 Formula One, F1.store. If you want a short and snappy domain name for your retail brand or your online store, you can now get a .store domain for just £4.99, which is about $6.99, using the coupon code 2XStore. That's 2XSTORE on get.store. Just go to get.store in your search engines and use 2XStore. Hello everybody. Welcome to the 2x eCommerce podcast. This is Kunle Campbell, your host, and this week's series of Facebook advertising for e-commerce is very, very exciting to me. I'm looking to share my experience really with Facebook advertising so far. I've been advertising on Facebook for under a year. I would even say for about 9 months. Very, very, very actively, where, you know, I spend a minimum of, I spend about 3 to 6 hours on Facebook almost every day. And yeah, I just want to show you, and I've seen failures and I've seen tremendous results in the space of e-commerce. So the essence of this series really is to get you guys going. So for those of you sitting on the fence, I want to create this audio only series basically to get you on the side of Facebook advertising. I'm aware of, you know, all the recent changes with regards to the new opt-in, particularly in the United States. There's obviously going to be a shrinking audience with Facebook, but you know, the heck, you're still, you know, speaking to about 2.2 billion people, you know, across the world globally. So there is opportunity, and that's where I like to see things. There's no other platform so far, as widespread as Facebook, at the moment on the social media, side of things. And to me, it's a greater power than TV, than television, because television is very geographically limited. I know there is satellite TV, but go and try advertising on CNN International and see how much it will cost you. So I'm just going to jump into day one right now. And what I'm going to talk about is the pillars of a rock solid Facebook advertising strategy, which, I believe are your audience, your creatives, and your bid budget, which occurs in kind of like the auction, your placement in the auctions. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about about audiences and targeting, pretty much audiences and targeting. But before I start out on audiences and targeting, just kind of understand that I think for day two, we're talking about budgeting and bidding, which with the auction. Day three, we'll be talking about creatives, just your ad creatives and placements, where to place the creatives. Day four, I think I'll be talking a little bit about scaling a campaign. And day five, we'll be talking about analyzing your ads and, decision making. Before we do that, before we start to talk about audiences and targeting, I love what MJ DeMarco said. But before even that, let's talk about, your product, right? If you do not have a product, if you are trying to promote a crap product or, a crap service, a crap product, you're going to fail on Facebook, unfortunately. And a crap product might mean a brilliant product, really good product, but crap customer experience, right? Just crazy, stupid customer experience. That will equals failure. Basically, because outside of Facebook, if you don't deliver a great experience and you still have a great product, you will still struggle, eventually. So you need to think back to the business fundamentals. Where do we have a good product? Have we validated we have a good product? A lot of, startups, especially, direct to consumer startups, have validated that initial, piece of the pie, particularly on crowdfunding, sites, they've run test campaigns, they've run surveys, they've sent traffic from, various sources, and they understand and they validated their product, and their customer experience is decent. Now, what Facebook essentially will do is that once you have a good product or good products or good customer experience, it just helps you scale the product market fit further. So the fit is finding the right audience or the right customers that will love your product. Facebook is that glue that's going to help you find your product. And that's what brings this whole concept of audiences, because audiences are those people, those particular people that are likely to get your product. And there's a quite profound quote from MJ DeMarco, the author of Millionaire Fastlane and Unscripted. It said, "If your business stops when you stop advertising, you have a product problem." Right? And I believe that all in all, even though your business drops in volume, it should still churn along. Why? Because every new customer should talk about your product, about their experience with your company, with your service. And through word of mouth, your business will grow. So think about if every single customer you have talks about your product to just one or two people, that has some velocity in it. And it can exponentially grow. Okay. What Facebook helps you do is helps you rapidly grow that word of mouth, helps you expose your product to more people, helps you, get you social proof. And, once you know the clever things and how to set up both your ads and eventually your landing page or your product pages, then you can easily convert, people from Facebook. So those are the fundamentals I really want to talk about before we get into audiences. So let's talk audiences. When you hear about like advantages of marketing on Facebook, be it, organic or, Facebook advertising, you always hear about the number of monthly active users, and on Facebook, you have about 2.2 billion active users. And for an e-commerce brand, what you're trying to do is figure out segments within this 2.2 billion base, which could involve geographic as well as interest and behavior targeting, which we'll talk about shortly. That would have these segments, potential segments that would have or make your ideal potential customers. Okay. And on Facebook, you kind of have two ways of targeting. You have cold audience targeting and custom audience targeting. When you talk about cold audience targeting, you're pretty much talking about reaching out people that have potentially never heard about your brand, but you're basing it on their interest and their behavior, right? So in the setup of your ad set, you're targeting people who have interest in specific things related to specific topics or specific publications or specific personalities related to your product offer. And with custom audiences, it is more or less a nurturing audience building. So think about it as almost making use or creating audiences based on actions people have made with either your Facebook assets or your website. Okay. That's what custom audiences is. I'll give you a simple example of a custom audience. A custom audience could be you create an audience of all the people that have visited your website or product page. You could do that on Facebook, because once you have the pixel, which is your helper, installed on your website, your pixel kind of gathers, data for you, customer data for you. And there are many ways to utilize your pixel to help you find new customers and to help you create custom audiences. So think about your cold audience as you asking Facebook to do the job of looking for potential customers, and your custom audiences as you utilizing your pixel data, your Facebook pixel data, to create audiences for you. Okay. I hope that is clear. Now, within custom audiences, I think where Facebook becomes super powerful is what's called lookalike audiences, which is kind of like a hybrid of your core custom audiences and your cold audience targeting. Let me explain. So when you create a lookalike audience, you can only create a lookalike audience based off on custom audiences. Custom audiences could be based off on people who've interacted with posts on your Facebook page, people who've played your videos, people who've visited your site, people who've added to cart, people who've initiated checkout, people who've purchased. Those are custom audiences you're building. Now, those custom audiences across the board will have certain characteristics. Facebook would figure out that, okay, your 1,000 customers that have added to cart or added this specific product to cart all have this particular, thing or interest or behaviors in common. And when you create a lookalike audience based off on that, you're asking Facebook to find other similar people within its 2.2 billion base of people to find similar audiences you can potentially target. And you could do a 1% match, a 2% match, up to a 10% match. And you could even go up to 20% based off on third-party tools. From 10 to 20%, you could do that outside of Facebook. But the power of scaling a Facebook campaign depends on your lookalike audience, right? Depends on the effectiveness of your lookalike audience. Now, what should you be doing now on Facebook? What should you go and do now? Your assignment on Facebook. I would suggest that after listening to this episode on Facebook, you make sure you have your pixel installed, which is pretty much JavaScript. So if you've ever installed Google Analytics or even the AdWords, conversion tracking, code snippets, anything that tracks across your website, ensure that you install the pixel across your entire website, and you install the pixel to track events within your website, within your e-commerce website, and make sure it tracks every single event in your funnel. If you don't know what a funnel is, it's pretty much the steps potential customers take to become customers. Okay. So typically, your funnel, your on-site funnel could be, they visit the homepage, they get to a category page or a product page, they add to cart, they get to checkout, and they eventually purchase. So you could create custom audiences based on people who've searched, across your website, even people who've added things to their wish list. And then you have the standard, funnel event, which is view content through the Facebook pixel. You have add to cart, you have initiate checkout, and then you have purchase. So I would implore you right away, get going into creating your custom audiences. So Facebook starts to gather data, and you don't even need to advertise on Facebook. You just need to install the pixel. So Facebook starts to gather data, and the magic number on Facebook at the moment for your pixel collection data is 1,000. So the moment you have like 1,000 add to carts, you can create a lookalike audience to tell Facebook to target those lookalike, to target the lookalike audience of people who added to cart. And that's, going to, potentially find you potential customers. So just to summarize, you kind of have like 3 audience types. You have 2 strict audience types: cold audience targeting, and you have custom audience, targeting. Custom audience targeting is powered by your pixel. Cold audience is powered by interest and behavior. I'd implore you to check out Facebook audience. Is it called Audience Insights? Let me have a look. All the terminology. So when you go to your business manager on Facebook, just go to plan. There's a hamburger menu on the top left. Click on the hamburger menu. The first column is called, or the second column is called plan. And then there's something called Audience Insights. You could play around with that to figure out, and there's some YouTube videos, out there that'll teach you how to figure out, audience insights. What you want to do is just try and figure out, just try and get a gauge of what cold audience targeting, looks like. It's quite interesting, the tool. But I think one of the other rules of the thumb before I close this up is that you also want to try and target big audiences. I'm not saying small audiences don't work, but they can get exhausted. So I think initially what I've done in the past, I've done it 2 ways really. I've created audience targeting that's very specific, based on hinging on various it's called flex targeting, in which I would say they must be engaged shoppers on Facebook. And then if they're engaged shoppers on Facebook, they must be interested in, this particular topic or these list of topics. So if like I was trying to sell like professional hairdressing, equipment, I would say, they must be engaged, shoppers on Facebook, or credit card users, active credit card users, and the other criteria for my cold targeting of them is, they could be hairdressers in that self-interest hairdressing. And then I focus that on my cold audience. I drive traffic through my cold audience with the hope of getting lots of events. And then once the events have hit the threshold points, I start to create. Obviously, I'm building out my custom audiences, and then I start to create lookalike audiences. And at any given point in time, don't just run the lookalike audiences. Try and always look for new potential, customers cold through interest targeting. I hope this helps. Yeah, if you have any questions, shoot me, an email. This topic was largely based on audiences. If it's first time ever listening to this show, remember to hit subscribe, give us a like, give us a share, and also, leave us some feedback if you got value off the back of this show. So I will catch you tomorrow, where I would be talking about budgeting, your budget and your bid strategy, and how all that fits in the auction, because Facebook is one big auction. So have a good one, and catch you tomorrow. Cheers.
So that was a wrap on this week's episode of 2x eCommerce. Remember, you can catch me every week
And also send your questions and comments on Twitter using the hashtag 2xecommerce. Keep yourself in the loop by subscribing to this podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcasting app. It only takes a few seconds and it means you'll get the most up-to-date episodes to help you grow your online store. Do have a good one till I catch you on the next show. Bye-bye.